Good morning, or actually it is afternoon, dearest friends. I'm going to just, hello, and welcome to all of you who had arrived yesterday. I'm going to just say a few here, have alignment, and then go to the podium. I just wanted to avoid that hassling with the changing of the computer. And Dana, you can just start. Let us just go within and align with our conference and the purpose of it, the 2025 Centennial Conclave, determining the destiny of humanity. Now we have had a pre-conference. We started with the ceremonial workshop, went to astrology workshop and then rheology workshop. And then we had yesterday the full moon, Vesak full moon. Let us align with this great full moon and this time, sacred time. And deeply with the hierarchy. Those full moon energies are always descending longer period of time than only one moment, the exact hour moment. In hierarchy there is still going on deep work of distribution. And all of the members of hierarchy, the inner helpers are in work as we are also either consciously or unconsciously. Tibetan says that the Vesak full moon is all of the full moons the most difficult because we have then the moon in Scorpio. It's very much about death, and in the Vesak Valley, that it was a really contradiction to see that when we were with Michael and the group on 2000. And that huge plateau where the teaching is telling about and where the ceremony takes place, it is in mundane world, the place where they Buddhist people are bringing their dead family members. So the vultures are spinning around you. You can see hundreds and hundreds of clothes what have been left behind. So it is very I don't even know how to call it. Anyway, it is telling about this world and then the other world. So that's why the energies are really not easy for anyone. You need really to be centered. And we should avoid any contradiction or friction between us. Everyone should work very consciously and keep the inner calmness, poised mind, calm waters, And just know that these energies, only these energies, are difficult to be transformed. And it is powerful full moon of the all other ones, because as tradition tells us, it is the moment when the Lord Buddha opens the door, the direct flow from Shamballa by hierarchy to humanity. Christ himself is leading this ceremony. It's the ceremony also of waters, and we, us too, are very much watery beings. This planet is. So you see there in front on the stage this little chalice, the golden chalice. And there should be little tiny teaspoon. Go and take from there the blessed water into your drinking water or wherever, and if you want to take home some of that, please do. So we keep our focus, the inner focus, in this moment of time. And also, as we have been talking, in that knowing of the great conclave, in hierarchy, in Shamballa. Say, go within and know that I am God. During these days, try to strengthen your understanding about your role in the group, this vast group which we can call the planetary server. The Aquarius within us. Christ is the highest example for us, and he is the teacher for all of us. How to become as a real server. Also, let us align with Master DK. Every full moon, he has promised to be at present, guiding us. And the impulses which are coming from our soul, solar angel, the angel of presence, Master DK, and your own master, if it is not a Master DK. Have that clear in your mind. Our inner attitude should be very receptive, and that's why, if we are very truthful, we have failed already. We should carry on silence very much. So let us today strengthen our understanding and memory. We should listen. Today we are going to talk about the occult schools, the future schools, the new schools. And there is so much to be remembered and to be read again and again. Every time when I do that, it's like again a fresh new thing. Tibetan says, we are talking in every aspect now about the destiny, and the destiny is created now. It's not created somewhere there in the future. we can say that yes, we were laying down the destiny already in the past, but we are in this moment, and one can reflect and look how the destiny is looking like. And one can turn the wheel by the will. Tipton says, let us start and enter into the realms of prophecy. I would here point out to you that the thing which is indicated as existing in the future may not always work out in detail as foreseen. I but seek to lay before you the big general plan in its outline. The working out in the future will depend upon the intuition, and just take your meditative approach to this. Just think or listen it meditatively. So the working out in the future will depend upon the intuition or high perception of the thinkers of the race, and upon the ability of the incarnating jivas to seize upon the opportunities and fulfill their destiny. The ancient science of meditation, we are talking about the schools of meditation. The royal road to union, as it has been called, might equally well be entitled the science of coordination. We have already, through the medium of the evolutionary process, learned to coordinate the emotional feeling, desire, nature, and the physical body, so much so that the states are automatic and often irresistible. The physical body is now simply an automaton, the creator of desire, high or low, good or bad, as the case may be. Many are now coordinating the mind with these two, and through the present widespread educational system, we are wielding into a coherent unity, that sum total which constitutes a human being, the mental, emotional, and physical natures. Through concentration and the earlier aspects, the meditation work, this coordination is rapidly hastened and is followed later by the unifying with the Trinity of man of another factor, the factor of the soul. This has always been present, just as mind is always present in human beings, who are not idiots, but it is quiescent until the right time comes and the needed work has been done. It is all a question of consciousness. Let us sound the great invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the hearts of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. don't want to wake you up. Yes, a little bit. Okay. Okay. Hello, hello. This is Tuesday. And we start today the main conference. I want to welcome all of you who just came. And I think there are some who have just arrived. And the idea is now to talk about the future schools, because we are, I think we need a little bit refreshment in our minds and memory about the new schools. And then we will have the official opening at 7 p.m. local time, and whatever it is then in GMT. And also we want to welcome all of you who are there behind the scenes in the Zoom. So yesterday we had a moment of reconciliation, and we will start that work. We will continue, it is needed. And now we are talking seriously about the new schools. Something what we need to realize, we need to understand, it is nothing about that we will think how the occult work should be obeying the outer demands. It is the other way around. The outer has to obey what is in occult work, what is the law behind everything. So that's why I'm saying about when we are talking about the now Morya Federation, we are working with everyone of the workers of light everywhere. If you have had any rumors which is saying something else, it's not true. We absolutely work with everyone who are working under the guidance of hierarchy and the intermediary. But us, our purpose is to bring forth Master DK's work. So that is our purpose. And this is something where there is not going to be any compromises. That is the purpose, and it will be the purpose. There is still so much to be done. And Morya Federation is about, with the other occult schools, we are about that the soul comes first. There has to be somewhere place where the soul has to have the right to speech. And the personality has to be quiet. This old tradition, we have read about the silence, and I think it would be so good to practice it. It was that neophytes came in and they had this 3 years training to be quiet. And to be quiet, it is such a great training. How many of you are practicing silence in your life? Good. And it is also about that what we many times we have been talking, that it is not that we just stop talking. It is the thing that we go within deeper and deeper. I'm just thinking about these beautiful monks. We were in Tibet, and we had great possibility to visit many of the monasteries. And then our dear friend Lama Glenn Mullen, who was visiting in the ceremonial workshop, he took us to these monasteries, and because he was friend everywhere, so that's why we were able also to meet monks. And I remember one monk who had been just 3 years. He had been just, was it only a few days he had been coming from the cave where he was 3 years. And the energy is incredible. You absolutely feel it. And it was like when Dalai Lama comes, it is also like this force moves in. So we cannot pretend in the work. If we work, it will be seen. It will be in our aura. The tone is there. And in our school and the schools of meditation, that is the focus what we have to look. Remember that the initiation is not achievement of the personality. It's the achievement of the soul. How the soul has become so skilled, the Hercules within us, the incarnated soul, has become so powerful that it really starts to control the personality. If the personality is, when there is a little impulse of the higher energy is already all over the places, then this little soul has not yet been able to temper the animal within us. So let us understand that principle. When we think about the evolution of the schools, and in that sense, the evolution of the consciousness, we have been having all kinds of phases in our earth chain. During the time, Atlantean time, we have been hearing about the war, the Great War. And that was the thing when the forces of light lost the battle and they had to withdraw. So there has been millions and millions of years when the teaching was given secret. That's why we are calling also the secret schools. But then when Christ 2000 years ago, which are considered that it is one of the greatest victories of the hierarchy, then the turning of the wheel happened. And as I have been pointing out now many times about that it is amazing that only one is needed. The one who is just purely giving our own will. And he was able to do that. This amazing mystery of these two great beings, the Master, Jesus and him. Jesus went the fourth initiation and the Christ, the sixth initiation. The mystery between those two, both of them, they were victorious. It's interesting how Christ is saying, wherever two or more are gathered, there, in my name, there am I. That's why we often say there that we have gathered in your name, Lord Maitreya, be with us. But this principle that we need that too, it's like the basic idea. Let us study that, because everywhere where we have the friction, there are those two who should be brought together. And it's our effort, the real us, it's our effort, that we should put the effort upon that we will bring the Christ within into this manifestation. So then when the teaching was withdrawn, millions of years went by, and then Christ and Jesus were able to work that together so that this victory of the hierarchy happened. And that's why the schools has been coming much more open, teaching more open, huge amount of books, also the hippie movement, then all kinds of new age type of books. So we have a huge amount of that going on. But there must be those also who are following the line, the very strict line. And that has to be understood. It is nothing to be watered down. So those who are working about And I say now to all of us, when we are together, we should be giving the mantras how they are given to us. When we are with the world, which is not yet understanding and it would create confusion, then let us change. But when we are together, there are purposes behind those mantras, why they are given that way. And then when we think about our work, is also that now, well, there are, I'm sure, many thoughts about that, but I have been thinking, what happened then when John the Baptist was beheaded? Is that the correct word? Yeah. So then there happened for the disciples, there came this Roman power and they were hunted and difficult times for them. So now the forerunner, the time of the forerunner is also ending. So what it is going to be in the world? We see everywhere, and it's the law, the shadow must rise. So there is nothing about what is wrong in that sense, in principle. But it is just dangerous to see that how little by little in many human departments these evil means are going behind the scenes. That's why we have to have real teaching as well. This planet is under the second ray. This is the whole second ray system. So the teaching ray is throughout us, not only on planet Earth, but throughout the whole system. So that's why we have to think about it carefully and really choose within ourselves. Do I want to do this? Do I want to establish this? And everyone who is now honest, I'm sure that there is none in this room who would be saying, yes, 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 I know all his writings. I'm reading these same things over and over again. There's still so huge amount. And this whole thing, what he has been writing, and do you know, I just read something very interesting where he is saying that it is not easy for him because he is from Eastern tradition, that it's not easy for him to talk to us Western people. And then he says also something interesting about the meditations, that it is not healthy for Easterners and is it like Orientals and how it goes in Occidentals, right? That it is not healthy to mix these meditations. And I have been thinking a lot about that, what it is really meaning, because we are humans. And the closest I have come is about the Devic substance. Because we break in our meditation, in our mantras, we break something which is what they have been building. So, and that is related to the word as well. So we should study the mantras numerologically in order to see a little bit deeper wisdom behind them and think about in relationship to the building of the devas. But there are certainly more wiser answers also. So going back to this difficult work, what hierarchy has been doing, and then the success of Christ and Jesus, and then what he says also that we have come now to the times that hierarchy has been waiting. Does he say millions or thousands of years? But it's a huge spec anyway. And then he says that we know what is going to happen, but we don't know what humanity is going to choose. So we are also a part of humanity, and we are supposed to choose. And now when it is coming, the time of the Pentecost, what he is saying that Pentecost is going to be also in the future, very important festival. So the idea of that, how the fire is descending, and as it's now going on. So okay, when the fire is descending, which is the means of transformation and initiation on this time, that is something what then 2000 years ago was that the disciples were baptized to their work. So after Pentecost, the disciples started to work. They were sent forth to the world. And I think during this period of what we have, this main full moons, that it is very important for all of us to really deeply think about what is happening. We are creating the destiny now. We are choosing this destiny now, how it is going to be. And certainly it is disciples who will stop the craziness on earth and who will stop these dangers which are rising. That's why let us be very careful with each other. What do we create? Do we create the separatistic ways or union? And what he was saying about the meditation is the royal, what it was, was it the royal road to union? So there we are upon when we are talking about the future schools. I'm welcoming, and the staff, faculty members are welcoming every single one who wants to study Tibetan's work, the master's work, which is given to Western disciples. And with painting this glorious image of that, it's hard work. It's really hard work, but it is giving credit. And then about this day, we are going to have first few words by B.L. Allison, and then we will study or listen Michael's teaching in 2 videos. And we will close today to the meditation of the new schools. And thinking about that when I was preparing this little talk upon the blessed ones, it's really amazing how much he is talking about how education, studying, school is related to the blessed ones. And when we think the pilgrim who went forth from the Father's home into this great millions and millions of years pilgrimage, all of that is laid that could happen, the teaching, because we enter into these darkened places and forgetfulness to really remember and understand the challenges in these worlds, which is not easy to anybody. But still, it's really fun to be together and study together. And now we have BL. And warmly welcome everybody.
Hello, everyone. My name is B.L. Allison, and I'd like to talk to you about the Morya Federation. We have a number of student programs. We've got the Meditation Quest, and that's for beginning occult students. We've got the Great Quest, which concentrates on esoteric astrology and the human constitution. Then we have the Quest Universal, which is our most advanced program of occult study, meditation, and service. To find out more about them, you can go to moirafederation.com and click on the Esoteric Education tab up at the top. The Meditation Quest itself is designed for students who are new to occult studies and meditation. It's a one-year program that leads to Great Quest. Students learn the basics of the human constitution and how that relates to the specific vehicles of human expression. The physical, the astral, the mental, the personality, and the soul. They're also introduced to the method of Raja Yoga meditation, concentrating on a seed thought and holding the mind steady in the light of the soul, using the mind as an instrument of the soul. Assignments within Meditation Quest, the students are expected to complete one written assignment per month to be posted within 3 days after the full moon. This assignment consists of a meditation report plus answers to some study questions. How much time does it take? In total, you can expect to spend about half an hour a day in meditation, plus 1 or 2 hours per month writing the meditation and study reports. Meditation Quest has been translated into Vietnamese, Portuguese, French, and Spanish. Great Quest is the next level, and it's designed for students who want to concentrate on learning esoteric astrology or who have limited time to devote to a study program. We begin by studying the human constitution, the 7 rays, and esoteric astrology, and the overall human energy system. We also study the lessons learned from the labors of Hercules as he performs his tasks in each sign. This is a one-year program that leads into the Quest Universal program. There are some student webinars that augment the monthly study program, and meditations each month come from Alice Bailey's Light of the Soul, Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Great Quest requirement. Students are expected to complete one written assignment per month to be posted 3 days after the full moon. This consists of the meditation report plus a study report. This work is to be done January to June of each year. During the second half of the year, the work will consist of solidifying the learning by writing a paper on a specific course-related subject. Additionally, meditation reports continue throughout the year. How much time? In total, you can expect to spend about half an hour a day in meditation, plus about 10 hours per month studying and writing your reports. Great Quest has been developed into other languages and is now available in Portuguese, Vietnamese, and French. Quest Universal. This is actually the heart of the Morya Federation. Students take anywhere from 1 to 5 classes simultaneously, studying advanced subjects like the history of humanity, treading the paths of probation and discipleship, esoteric astrology and psychology, and service and solutions for humanity. Full-time students can complete the program in 5 years. Part-time or self-paced can take considerably longer, but can be adjusted to suit your busy life. In the later years of study, students take progressively more advanced subjects, studying the path of initiation, group initiation, the Diva Kingdom, cosmogony, and the creative hierarchies, and esoteric healing. Covering the bulk of all the Alice Bailey books and their relationship to other occult books on ageless wisdom. For all programs, students are assigned a mentor. For Meditation Quest and Great Quest, a mentor replies to both the study and meditation reports. For Quest Universal, there is a mentor to reply to the meditation reports, and then faculty advisors who reply to each of your study reports, depending on the subject matter. Your mentor is your first contact with the Morya. The student-mentor relationship is intended to be impersonally personal or personally impersonal, to quote the idea of Alice Bailey. Your mentor will be closely involved with your general spiritual progress and will serve you as a source of spiritual guidance in your quest for enlightenment. We also have a lot of webinar series. There's commentaries from Michael Robbins. There's webinars from faculty members, Francis Donald, The Secret Teaching of All Ages, The Secret Doctrine, A Treatise on Cosmic Fire, Dwayne Carpenter, Awakening the Higher Mind and Intuition through the Use of Symbols, other faculty webinars on other subjects. And all of these are available on Makari. You can also sign up to get announcements for the current series that are ongoing at themoirafederation.com. So just click on the sign up tab on the left sidebar there on the Moira Federation. So here's the Makara archives and the website for that, www.makara.us. So it's got the Ageless Wisdom compilations. It's got Michael Robbins's collected works. It's got the Ask program that does the triangle meditations, the reappearance of the Christ meditations, dissipation of glamour, and a number of other programs under the Ask umbrella. It has the student webinars that are there, the archives for them, and the ongoing ones, and the Ageless Wisdom webinars. So it's an excellent storehouse of material. So that's a little bit about us, who we are, what we do, and where you can find our stuff. Now I'd just like to ask you to carry out a little random act of kindness, and please donate through the www.sevenray.org/donate. Thank you very much for your time.
And now we are going to have a video. We have been calling already the staff from the resort place to put down the air condition. It's really, yes, we know it's cold, but you have to think about cold, clear light in your toes. And we are going to have now video from Michael. And maybe after that, we can have a little discussion as well. And that is going to be from the book Letters of Occult Meditation. And you will get the connection to the Makara page where this is stored. There are, I don't know how many, over 80 little commentaries by Michael from the book. And now we are taking, I think it is 65, or was it 85 number, Michael? 65. And that is from the beginning where he is starting to talk about the future schools.
Hello, everyone. My name is B.L. Allison, and I'd like to talk to you about the Morya Federation.
Hello, Michael.
We have a number of student programs. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My name is B.
She wants to be with us. Yes, she is very determined person.
Hello, everyone.
Hello,
My name.
BL, how are you? Don't you think that sometimes the electrical things and all these techniques
My
is...
name is B.L. Allison.
Yes, we believe this. Yeah, we will tell.
Okay, hi.
Hello, Michael.
Okay, hi, everybody. And
my name is B.L.
yes, here we are.
And I'd like to talk.
We don't know. We don't know what is going on. It is something. I think that BL really wishes all of you who are not yet the students that that's right. I never know what to do if something like this happens. I just close the computer and push every single button. Eventually it does, but sometimes it does not. But it is interesting what Tibetan says about the initiation, that it is the closest to think electricity in relationship to practical terms of initiation. Okay.
Okay, hi, everybody. And yes, here we are continuing with letter number 9. We actually have finished, as you know, letter number 10 and 11, but this one seems so important to me anyway, that I've decided to give it special attention. And so it begins with program 64, and now we're on 65, and we have something here called the Future Schools of Meditation. We've had an introduction to that already. That was in number 64, and where we can look for some of these activities where the masters are rather looking in on and supervising those who have promised to work with these schools and who possibly can be raised to that kind of level that the schools require. People in many civilized countries are under supervision, vision from above, and a method of stimulation and intensification is being applied, which will bring to the knowledge of the great ones themselves a massive information that may serve as a guide to their future efforts for the race. Now, among the future efforts for the race will be these new esoteric schools. It'll be part of the restoration of the mysteries. There will be a Masonic restoration. There will be a restoration of the church. All of these are considered to be organisms rather than organizations. The Masonic organism, the church organism, and the banded esoteric organisms. And under that, I think, come the new esoteric schools, which will be banded together, connected with each other. So the supervision that's going on is occurring in countries, for the most part, that will have new esoteric schools initially. Eventually, every sufficiently developed nation will have its own esoteric schools. And listed here, America, there are 2. Australia, there's 1. India is part of a different branch, the Southern Indian branch, but it has its own method of education as part of the fourfold expression of the one fundamental school of occultism in Shamballa. Russia, yes, and either Scotland or Wales, but yes. And Greece, either Greece or Syria, but yes. And these are people under supervision that can perhaps be utilized in the development of the new esoteric schools. Not Belgium, but yes, Sweden, as the counterpart to the Russian school. I suppose a lot of 7th ray there. And not Austria, but certainly Austria with its 4th ray soul, and Germany with its 4th ray soul will be important in bringing together human beings and devas. Because on the Buddhic plane, or the 4th, they do really begin to harmonize, even though they may be rather at war with each other on the astral plane. So, and that's back in 1920. So here is number 65, program number 65. Future schools of meditation. In handling this matter, we might, as is our usual custom, divide the subject matter under different heads. Well, it's so clear that the outlining method is what DK has so persistently used. And then we have the one fundamental school of occultism in Shamballa, its national subdivisions, the location, personnel, and buildings of the school, so it's getting quite concrete. We have some friends in New Zealand with architectural talent, and they have built up some projections of what the buildings of such schools could look like, and the grades and classes. Now, you probably know that with respect to the Morya Federation, since he is the head of all esoteric organizations and schools, that we have used Master DK's preparatory curriculum to the extent we could in planning a harbinger, you might say, or a anticipation of what the real esoteric schools will be like when once again the Great Lord is walking the earth. So I had other ideas earlier, but I don't think that the Great Lord can walk the earth until the beginning of the Aquarian Age, which is 2117, according to the Tibetan's letter to Roberto Saggioli. So that's still a ways away, and there's much of the fading out of the Piscean and six-ray energy that has to occur. You know, when you look at the tendencies to go out of control with mob violence and fanaticism and very ugly things, we can only hope that this ray and this sign fade from human influence in this cycle relatively rapidly and without too much damage, because it really does want to hold on to the past, and it really doesn't want the future to enter. When I say it, I mean those who are subject to the waning Piscean and waning sixth-ray influence. They sense their kind of mortality, and they therefore attempt to block the entry of a new and more balanced manifestational energy in which the highest and the lowest can meet, according to the word of power of the seventh ray. So these are the divisions that DK will undertake to somewhat explain. He always uses the word somewhat, or maybe some, because he's only going so far, giving us enough hints to have some idea of what lies ahead, at least in the plans of the masters. And since they are adepts, they're always adapting, you know. And probably there have been a lot of adaptations that have been necessary. One big adaptation here was the phasing out of the empowerment of the fifth ray ashram from, was it 1950 approximately, to the year 2000. It was just going too fast and too successfully. And the other qualities, ashramic qualities, so necessary to human spiritual growth, were not keeping up. So they really have to keep a balance. And I think during the New Age, there will be real attention to balance, given the idea that the seventh ray is formed of maybe somewhat equal measures of the first, second, and third rays, a balance. Now, he says, I would emphatically point out to you the fact that all that I now impart is a portion of a tentative plan. Notice the word tentative, you know, because the the masters are always conducting experiments, and they don't hold too tightly to one of their projected plans. It may not work out, and something else may have to be substituted. So all that I now impart is a portion of a tentative plan, which has in view the hastening of the evolution of the higher mind. Note, built eventually around the monastic permanent atom and not around the mental unit as the concrete mind is. The view of hastening the evolution of the higher mind and the bringing under control of the bodies of men, presumably mind, emotions, and etheric physical, through the power of the God within. So we might say that this is the, let's say, a goal, a major goal of the new esoteric schools. So I'll make that just one shorter. And so this, that's not what I want, is it?
We are again calling the staff to put more warmth here.
Okay, trying again. Trying again, and maybe succeeding this time. Okay. So now let's see if it works. So this will be a major goal of the new esoteric schools, the future schools of meditation. So hastening, this is an important one, hastening the evolution of the higher mind. The Lodge of Darkness has in its initiate members those whose development of the concrete mind is very powerful. As DK tells us, at some point it takes us to places that we can barely conceive. So, well, we can't conceive them. So advanced are they. But that's not what is going to make the truly spiritual helper of humanity. So I put in green because the higher mind is involved, and the plan is tentative, because we don't know, if we're members of the hierarchy, how humanity will react, how it will respond to the opportunity offered. This plan has been drawn up in view of the crying need of a world in which the mental equipment of men is increasingly out of all proportion to their emotional balance and their physical equipment. So, again, imbalance is dangerous. And we know that an imbalanced machine can easily destroy itself, can easily fall apart. Maybe sometimes you've watched a washing machine that is somehow tilted, and it cannot, on the fast cycle, it makes all of these noises because of the lack of balance. And eventually, if you keep running it that way, there will be a breakdown. And so even then, 1920, after the First World War a crying need of a world in which mental development has gone too far. And the love energy which belongs in the emotional nature and the physical vitality that belongs in the physical nature are too little developed. The mind is racing far ahead, and this is one of the, well, it's a characteristic of the members of the Black Lodge, that their mental equipment is so great that they have succeeded in doing a very dangerous thing and making the concrete mind a 13th sphere, a sphere unto itself. And hence DK tells us about the ill-omened number 13. Now, in a certain way, when you look at the cosmic physical plane and you think of dividing off the concrete layers of it into a sphere all of its own, we have a kind of 8th sphere when all the rest are meant to blend into 7 spheres. But the real 8th sphere, I think, according to Blavatsky, is a kind of area of vibration which is even lower than dense physical matter, if we can conceive of such a thing. The rapid advance of knowledge, the spreading of the educational system, just with the internet, brings the product into the environment of the very poor, and hence arouses their indignation and aspiration. The ability of all to read and write in such a country as America, or among the other Anglo-Saxon races, has been the cause of a very real, I might almost say an unexpected problem arising to confront the great ones. Well, we would think that this kind of spread of education would be very valuable, and in a way it is, but the problem is, it's again how to balance. And now, this is 100 years ago he's writing, and the spread of knowledge now is tremendous through the internet. And what was said that before long there'll be some kind of computer station every 6 miles or so that people can take advantage of. And many more, literacy is waxing. Not only the Anglo-Saxon races have it, but other countries too have developed a high literacy rate. So how to handle, and this is pretty much the concrete mind, how to handle what it reveals when the moral factor in our emotions is not up to par. And also when our own physical nature leaves much to be desired. Mental development, when paralleled by emotional stability and a strong, healthy body, it's kind of a Uranus, Neptune, Vulcan trio, is the aim for all. So this is the ideal, and it is an ideal that is not yet reached, maybe somewhat more so now, 100 years later. there has been so much emphasis upon how to handle emotions, especially in the countries where psychology is considered important. And there's so much attention now to the health of the body that there have been improvements. But now, that is then, okay, you have mental development paralleled by an unstable astral and a weak, underfed, badly raised physical. So here is our very strong, relatively, mental development. Here is an unstable astral, and we have only to study the lives and the methods of rulership of some of our leaders, and a weak, underfed, and badly raised physical. I'll put it, in green to discriminate. So this is what we have. And the extent to which this has improved since 1920s, well, somewhat. Okay. Hence, disorder, lack of balance, the clouding of the vision, and, too much talk, disproportionate discussion. Lower mind, instead of being a means to an end and a weapon for use, is in fair way of being a ruler and a tyrant, preventing the play of the intuition and shutting out the abstract mind. So this is what the masters faced when they were thinking of how to remedy the situation. And maybe when we look at this paragraph, the disorder is related to the physical plane. We have that veil of impulsion, so we have all kinds of chaos etherically working out physically. Balance is often an emotional factor. We lose our emotional balance and go too far with our reactivity, and that results in the glamorous clouding of the vision. And then what do? We over-discuss it without taking the necessary action that is required. And we do come to the idea, that the mind makes a good servant, but a poor master, a dangerous master. And so we have people that are just fixated in the lower mind. They're very intelligent in a certain respect, but it's a bit like, the kind of IQ tests that one takes in high school, even in grade school. The measurements are distorted. They're only measuring certain quantitative abilities and maybe some verbal abilities, yes, but not the intelligence of the heart. They're not measuring social intelligence and that which conduces to a harmony and eventually to a kind of unity. All of those kinds of measurements are not considered in the range of intelligence. So we have kind of a distorted, limited point of view. And still, students going through high school and preparing for college, whatever form that now begins to take, they are compressed and measured by limited measures, and their true value is not appreciated. And so their self-image is cramped, and they conceive of themselves in a certain way which is giving them the idea really that they are less than they are. Well, that's because our values have to do with the measurements of the concrete mind. Hence, the masters, if it can in any way be accomplished, there's still an if here, purpose a movement that has in view the harnessing of the lower mind through the instrumentality of the people themselves. So the people, that is the inner person, the actual person, comes out as of more importance than the lower mind. Now, you know, I think I'm a product of this kind of unbalanced education until meeting with the work of the Tibetan and Theosophy. Everything, the level of your value depended upon the results in those very limiting tests for your so-called cognitive ability and for your, verbal and quantitative abilities. There's a lot more to the human being. So with this object in view, the plan to utilize the incoming ray of ceremonial law organization and the period immediately coincident or following the coming of the Great Lord. At this time, maybe it was thought that he could still come in the 20th century, to start these schools in a small, inconspicuous way at first, and bring to the consciousness of men everywhere the following four fundamentals. So he's given us the problem and why the schools should be considered maybe remedies for some of these problems if they can be successful. Now, you will notice that the real schools have two time periods in terms of when some of them at least might appear. The period immediately coincident with, I assume, when the Great Lord comes, and the period following the coming of the Great Lord, but they do seem to be tied to the reappearance of the Christ. Now remember, when this was written, it was anticipated that even before the end of the 20th century, the Great Lord might appear. And maybe the precipitation of the second phase of the Great World War from 1914 to 1945 was not anticipated. Further, the Fifth Ray Ashram got way ahead of itself in a certain sense, and the masters were obliged to give confirmation if they were correct, and atomic weaponry was developed, and this set an entirely new situation of grave danger in process. So I suppose that the coming of the great Lord then was delayed until certain achievements could at least be in process. Some measure of peace, some measure of sharing, and of course the house cleaning that we have been witnessing, especially in the church and now I think increasingly in politics. So what are the four fundamentals? In other words, bringing to the consciousness of human beings everywhere these four must be brought into consciousness of human beings everywhere. And let's just see how that's going. Point A, the evolutionary history of man from the mental side. You know, sometimes the teaching of the history of ideas, the philosophy of ideas, the history of ideas, covers this particular type of education. The septenary constitution of the macrocosm and the microcosm, so we understand the general principle of the sevenfoldness and the octave. The laws governing man's being, well, they are many. And some of them are natural laws, but increasingly the laws of the soul, of which there are 7. 5 useful for us at the moment, increasingly revealing the laws of the soul. And the method of occult development. Okay. So the evolutionary history of man from the mental side, because we are in this fifth root race, this Aryan race, really emerging out of the Atlantean tendency towards emotional focus, emotional polarization. And how far have we come? Okay, that's the question. The sevenfold constitution of the macrocosm and microcosm, there are so many septenates without knowledge of which we cannot understand how our solar system, our planet, even our own mechanisms, individual, are constructed. And then, of course, this is huge. The laws governing a man's being, they are so many. One of our colleagues is working on this at the present time and has come up with over 400 laws. But of course, not all of them are of equal importance. Especially the laws of the soul are important, and the laws of the solar system, and then the 3 great cosmic laws of synthesis, attraction, repulsion, and economy. And then the method of occult development. Well, that's exactly what the Tibetan is trying to teach us in all of his books. So this may be desirable for men to learn, but we're not there yet. Again, you know, when you think about where the mind is of so many millions, DK tells us it will be a long time. before we before the time arrives when occult training is possible for the many. So anyway, bring to the consciousness of men everywhere. That's the key. And we can be part of that, as we know. Now here, you know, there are some ellipses. A beginning has already been made, and I seem to have run into some text, and I think more will be made available now, that signals out maybe Australia, singles out Australia and United States through the various schools at present extant. We have some preparatory schools which are preparatory to the kind of preparatory schools that DK is here going to discuss. And all of these are the beginnings of the plan. Now, maybe, you know, you can consider the arcane school such a preparatory school. And I know efforts are being made, and we have, through the University of the Seven Rays and the Morya Federation, tried to give preparation for preparation. But I have learned that there's no way to rush this process, but there is a way at least to be attentive and dedicated to building the foundation of the process. The coming of the Great Lord, this seems to be the marker that will allow the real esoteric schools of the future, the real schools of meditation to be anchored. So these preparations of preparations, when they are firmly grounded, when they are working smoothly, and with public recognition, and when the world of men is being somewhat colored by them and their subjective emphasis. Okay, now maybe he is actually, well, let's just see what he's talking about. But when they are producing scholars and workers, politicians, scientists, and educational leaders who make their impress on the environment, then perhaps will come the time for the founding in exoteric fashion of the true occult school. Does he mean is this a preparatory school or an advanced school? Let's see. By that I mean that if the earlier schools and colleges do their work satisfactorily, they will have demonstrated to the world of men that the subjective is the true reality, and that is very far from the case. We are caught in sensory objectivity at the moment, but that the subjective is the true reality, and that the lower is but a stepping stone to the higher. This subjective reality is being universally admitted, will therefore permit of the founding of a chain of inner schools that will be publicly recognized. Now, again, let's say that this probably includes the advanced schools. This will never at any time obviate the necessity for always having an esoteric and secret section. For always there will be certain truths and facts of dangerous import to the uninitiated. But what I seek to point out is that the mysteries will eventually be admitted as facts for universal recognition and universal aim and goal. And let's say that human beings will, human beings will see the light in other human beings and know that the subjective is real. They will be prepared for and enter from schools that definitely undertake expert guidance to train novitiates for the mysteries. They will be prepared for and entered from schools that definitely undertake to train novitiates for the mysteries. And so eventually the advanced schools will appear. Well, this is quite a paragraph here. A beginning has been made. Now, obviously, not the real esoteric schools, just foundational experiments in certain places. And I think somewhere the intersection of the Theosophical Society was considered such a school. The inner section of the TS was considered such an initial effort. When they are firmly grounded, and remember we're at a time when the arcane school was just coming into existence, because that's what Alice Bailey did when she received this information from the Tibetan and realized she was working with Master K.H. She founded the arcane school. I'm not sure exactly in what year, but very early 20s of the last century. And when they are working smoothly and with public recognition, and when the world of men is being somewhat colored by them, again, not all the way, and their subjective emphasis, and when they are, well, and now we seem to switch. Are these preparatory schools to the true preparatory schools producing scholars, workers, politicians, scientists, educational leaders, and so forth? Then mayhap may come the time for the founding in exoteric fashion of the true occult school. So the question is, and maybe we can determine it, is a true occult school a preparatory school or an advanced school? So there will be earlier schools and colleges which in this context do not seem to be the 7 preparatory schools, but those that value the direction of helping to create the preparatory schools. So maybe it is expected that there will be schools and colleges which will lead to training of these kinds of types, when they are producing, etc., then may come the time for the founding of the true occult school. So it appears that the earlier schools or colleges are intended to lead to the founding of the true external esoteric schools, which will be recognized. So there's a little bit of ambiguity here. The earlier schools and colleges are not necessarily, it seems, the same as the 7 preparatory schools, because he kind of speaks of them in a general way, you know. They will have demonstrated the subjective reality as the true reality, and that the lower is but the stepping stone to the higher. And then subjectivity will be admitted, I suppose, especially during the Aquarian age, maybe even relatively early for the true preparatory schools. Eventually the subjective will be universally admitted, and therefore the founding of a chain of inner schools, which will be publicly recognized. And, you know, the inner schools, well, they certainly are the advanced schools. This includes the advanced schools. Now, maybe it does not include the preparatory schools, which are supposed to be of the standard of any good college or university. I think it's a gradual phasing in of the subjective point of view. Okay. There will be a gradual phasing in of the subjective point of view. This will never at any time obviate the necessity for always having an esoteric and secret section. For always there will be certain truths that and facts which are of dangerous import to the uninitiated. So the inner sections of these schools, and I suppose especially of the advanced schools will certainly exist. But what I seek to point out, he says, is that the mysteries will eventually be, and there's that word, you know, how far into the future, we don't exactly know. We have to fulfill certain requirements. But what I seek to point out is that the mysteries will eventually be admitted as facts for universal recognition and for universal aim and goal. So, I think he, you know, desires not to be too specific. Right now, even in normal universities, subjects which would have been considered to be subjective and esoteric are being taught. And basically, it's a preparation for the establishment of the true esoteric schools after or at the time of, or at least beginning at the time of, approximately, the reappearance of the Christ. So they will be prepared for and entered from schools that definitely undertake under expert guidance to train novitiates for the mysteries. They, and in this case, probably the advanced schools, will be prepared for and entered from schools that undertake, and what makes me think we're now dealing with the true preparatory schools. He says under expert guidance. So under the guidance of a master to train novitiates for the mysteries. So here, you know, we have three phases in the sequence. The appearance of schools, even now appearing, which are training its students in the major ideas of the ageless wisdom, and thereby preparing them for the time when the true preparatory schools, undertaken under esoteric guidance, will begin a higher level of training, which will prepare for the true inner advanced esoteric schools. Because that's what we can expect of a preparatory school, that it will train novitiates for the mysteries, which will be more fully imparted in the advanced school. Let's just say the true preparatory school will train novitiates for the mysteries, and the advanced schools will present some of the mysteries, as will, you know, the externalization of the mystery ceremonies, at least for the first and second degree. So we're in the process right now of working towards the true preparatory schools. There are many schools that are doing that. The Arcane School, the School for Esoteric Studies, the Arcane School in its three branches, I would say. I think the Morya Federation is doing that, and there's work at, has been work over the years in Meditation Mount to help people gain some idea of the fundamentals of the ageless wisdom and the, you know, intersection of the Theosophical Society and so forth. Still a preparatory school which prepares for the real preparatory schools. I know that's been a little bit convoluted. It's just that, you know, there seems to be some ambiguity here, and all I want to say is that the preparatory schools do not appear immediately. The subjects have to be taken up in other types of lesser schools and colleges whose purpose is not necessarily entirely spiritual, but they offer these extensions, these classes that point towards the future spirituality. Okay. Such schools have existed before, and in the turning of the wheel, again, they will be in manifestation. I don't know if they were divided into preparatory and advanced, but definitely they have existed. You know, and when you think about it, even the modern Masonic work is preparation for a truer type of Masonic work that will probably appear when the Great Lord again walks the earth. You ask when? That depends on humanity itself and of all of you who work with faith and aspiration at the beginnings of the plan. Somehow, you know, offering the ageless wisdom to those to whom it might not otherwise be offered. And this we are attempting to do, as so many of us are attempting to do. Isn't it amazing how this time equation is so often in the hands of humanity and their responsiveness, their receptivity to the ideas put forth by the hierarchy. Now, in a later book, he seems to be talking about centuries ahead. In this book, he seems perhaps a little more optimistic, but then again, the Christ in this book was anticipated to appear earlier than once the atomic weaponry was unveiled and the Second World War precipitated. HPB laid the foundation stone of the first school in this particular lesser cycle, which is nevertheless a relatively important one, being an outgrowth of the fifth root race, the efflorescence of the fifth principle, and this is the keystone. The keystone is important in Masonry, and I think we have a state in the Union that's called the Keystone State. So was it the entire Theosophical Society that was this a cornerstone or foundation stone or keystone? Or was it the esoteric section? Was this the entire TS at its founding? Or was it the esoteric inner section of the TS? And I think there was an intention somewhere in there to call it by the name arcane. So we're, you know, and maybe we're talking about the fifth sub-race of the fifth root race, but we're also talking about the sixth sub-race of the fifth root race, which we now are entering. We are speaking of a time which is not only that of the fifth subrace, do it differently, subrace of the fifth root race, but also of the impending sixth sub-race of the fifth root race. That's the kind of description, or it's an outgrowth which is involved in developing in America and New Zealand and Australia, I think. These so-called advanced colonies of the sixth subrace of the fifth root race, which is not yet the entire sixth root race. The work proceeds in the founding, as aforesaid, of the various schools, and mental science also has its place. So we want to say that this shows us that the schools and colleges, which are foundational, are not yet the new esoteric schools in their preparatory mode. It will go forward as desired if each one who is now under occult training, strains every nerve and bends every effort to the work at hand. So we can never look at the Tibetan as anything but the enemy of tamas, enemy of inertia. He just demands everything of us. And, you know, I suppose the question always is, when something's written 100 years ago, what has actually occurred? If all that is possible is done, when the great Lord comes with his masters, the work will receive a still further impetus and will gradually expand and grow till it becomes a power in the world. So we don't expect immediate recognition for these schools. They begin in a small way. We students, we have some work to do as part of the foundational impulse, and then the coming of the great Lord will provide a tremendous stimulation, the great Lord and his masters. Then will come the day of the occult schools that will definitely train men for initiation. And I would say train them for both the initiations of the threshold and for the third initiation, and maybe in some cases of the advanced schools for the fourth. Then will come the day of the occult schools that will definitely train men for initiation. So it's a great prospect, it's a great anticipation, And we have to be patient. We have to be patient. And yet bend every nerve and every fiber and so forth. Patient while working under great, at a great point of tension. Okay, friends, I think that may be enough for right now. We are going to be getting a new subject. We finished program 65, and program 66, we'll see when we can undertake it. Today is the 10th of February. And the one
Michael,
fundamental
I
school.
think
This
you
is
can
what
fade
we will
away.
undertake the next time. The one.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael. It went very well, Michael. It was actually longer than I was anticipating because, yeah, it's 3:30 already. So we are not going to have the second video. We are going to have the opening and then the real opening tonight at 7 p.m. our local time. We suggest you and welcome you to go to Makara page and listen those. They are very interesting and reflect what this is all about. I would like to ask, we have faculty members here. Would you like to say something? Yes. Great. Do we have the microphone? Yeah.
Yes, we're on. I've made a few notes here that I think I would like to share with the group. One really has to go to Letters in Occult Meditation and read extensively what DK has outlined to get a better grasp of the progression between the preparatory, intermediate, and advanced schools. Michael did a wonderful and marvelous job with his introduction to this, but I wanted to mention a few things that will be coming in the intermediate and advanced schools. And I apologize if these are not in the correct order because I was attempting to put this down. Number one, work with color and sound. Each student eventually has to know their personality ray, their soul ray, and even eventually their monadic ray, and know the color, the note, the geometry, the sound associated with that. And when they build their 6 stages of the Antakarana, they will be able to drive through the power of the will up onto those very obscure and high levels that really characterize initiation. This relates to the science of mantra yoga, and DK speaks of this intermittently throughout all of his books, but he says the time is not right, it's too dangerous. But I personally think with the right group and with select people, the science of mantra, as Tuija eloquently outlined earlier in her introduction, will take more prominence. You each have a note, you have a unique color combination, and these are the building tools between the microcosm, which is us, and the macrocosm, which is the master's ashram, the higher groups, all these profound astrological lives. The bridge is built through Davic substance, and Michael mentioned that here, and Tuija has mentioned it very consistently through all of her work. The importance of understanding the Davic bridges. When you do triangle work, the energies that circulate are Davic and angelic. And when you can get the right ray with the right color, When you can get the right triangle to where you are on the spiritual path, you will make an exponential leap to the next level. Now, this also gets into the words of power, which have a Sanskrit equivalent. In other words, these words of power are only translated into English to give us an approximation. Breath work. When you study Patanjali's sutras, they start with purification and they move up an escalating ladder. And when you get to pranayama, you get into the importance of breath work, and this is where the student is taught how to translate their individual breath into the group breath, into the breath of the one deity of which we seek to be fused with. The old commentary, DK has indicated, is the most advanced part of Raja Yoga training. And when you read it, it's not just a lot of technical details which are important as a foundational base. They are symbols and metaphors, and they're very poetic. They're almost very similar to the works of Roerich in Agni Yoga through Master M, and it invokes the intuition. The purpose of all this monastic work is preparatory to awakening the intuition. And then last, what I want to say is the difference between Raja Yoga, which we have been practicing for thousands of years, and the new Agni Yoga. And Agni Yoga requires an integrated personality to undertake. And Raja Yoga offers that training. And there is overlapping here, and this is an oversimplification. Agni Yoga is the ability to create a bridge between the three highest centers within our inner constitution, which is the crown, Ray 1, the egoic lotus, which can be one of any 7 types, but that's basically consciousness, Ray 2, and then the Ajna center, which synthesizes all the lowest centers below the diaphragm up into that very high state. So it's a vast subject, and I appreciate being able to take a few minutes and outline a few of those keynotes. Thank you.
Wonderful, really wonderful. As we got this, even though brief, but we got this already the hints how vast things we are talking and how everything is under science, and that's why we need education, all of us. Okay, dear.
Yes. As BL's lovely presentation indicated about the Morya Federation and the programs it offers, I wanted to indicate that I've gone through that program, the 5-year Quest Universal program, and also another point is that after the 5-year Quest Universal program, you have the option to do a final project or thesis, after which you become a Doctor of Philosophy and Esotericism, or a PhDE, as it's called. And yes, so, and also I've done the other side, where one can work on the other side as a faculty to help support students. In addition to learning yourself, you can do the reverse side and help other students with it. And yes, so it's on moryafederation.com, where there's a couple of introductory letters by Michael Robbins, and just a couple of paragraphs where from those letters, Michael says, "The Morya Federation is an esoteric school bridging towards the future preparatory schools of meditation, about which the Tibetan master Djwhal Khul writes so inspiringly in his book, Letters on Occult Meditation. At the Morya Federation, we have embraced as much of the master's extensive proposed esoteric curriculum as is possible for us at this time. we seek to give students who wish to expand their understanding of the realities of life a comprehensive and deep exposure to the ageless wisdom, which, if truth be told, is far older than our planet Earth.
Wonderful. Thank you. So, Walter, was your thesis your astro program or?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
And you can do various things like a essay or document, but my particular thesis, when I completed the 5-year program, even though the astrologue had already existed, it was just an exoteric astrology program. And so my thesis was to make it an esoteric astrology program and bring in like the 7 rays and array graphs and the various esoteric features it has. And so
Beautiful.
it's neat.
And we have very, very wonderful things during the years about those theses. We have to put that archive in order. We have, I think, somewhere there in Makara. Makara is so huge, like when you think about Makara, the initiate. So the program is the initiate program. The platform. There is so much information that if you start to study, it will take years to go through everything. But you can be also lost there. I have been many times lost. Thank you, Walter. Would anybody, David, would you like to say something? Sheldon, would you like to say something? Not yet. What about David? No. Anyway, it was giving us insight, but as said, there are a huge amount of those commentaries, and this section about the schools. Go to the Makara page. Is it makara.us? Yeah. And study those. They actually are very quickly downloaded. There is audio recording and then this video recording. Now we will have, Jessica, some announcement, and then we will have break.
So I'd like to welcome anyone who's come here, just arrived today, and I can get your badge and notebook over in room C, which is next door, so just head out here right
Let
after
us say the old-fashioned names. This is Great Bear Hall.
This is Great Bear Hall.
Yes, and the C could be Little Bear.
Little Bear.
And then on the back, Venus. They were the names that we were using in old times.
Little Bear room right at the beginning of this break. Thank you. And then a reminder to please silence your cell phones. And there's a bookstore. It is also in the Little Bear room, and there's instructions in each area on how to pay for or order the books there. And that will be open throughout the day as we meet. And it is open until Saturday at noon. And there are some posters there, some beautiful posters. I think, who made the posters? I actually don't. Was it? Okay, there was with astrology, the astrology posters. Okay.
No, I don't think that we are talking the same posters. They are the old posters. No, that.
Okay.
It's Victoria. Estonia
okay,
has
great.
stone.
So those are available for free. However, if you would like to make a donation to the Morya 7ray.org, that would be fantastic if you feel called to. And then there is, I think that's it.
I want to say something for the newcomers that in this place they are very strict with the times of the meals. So remember to go when the meal times are, that you go immediately there. And
so they do want us to be out of the dining room by after an hour.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. And we want you to be punctually when we are starting something.
Also a gentle reminder that this is a little bit different than a resort. This is a casa, which means we are staying in the home of the Franciscan Renewal Center. So just keep in mind that requests and such things, it's best to go through us first, and then I can work with the coordinator if you find that it's an issue you'd like addressed, rather than going to the front desk. That would be fantastic. Yes.
Just one fun thing for everybody. I brought, I think my Ascension deck. It's an Oracle deck, and they're just spread out over here on the floor. So each day, if you choose once or twice during the day, you just want to pick a card, you're welcome to them. They're right here.
Beautiful, thank you. Right, now we are going to have a 20 minutes break, and as said, because it is already 2:45, so we are not going to have video. And now, Michael, you can put that music. So 20 minutes, you come back, let's say 5 minutes past. Please, come back.